All right. Well, good night, everybody. We can start moving to our seats. Welcome to the October Westbank Real Estate Investor Meetup. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are a returning member, welcome back. I'm excited about today's meeting. We have Mr. Elvis Joseph, and tonight we are going to tackle exactly how to build a team if you are still giving attention to your W-2 and still building your rental portfolio, if you are running flips, if you are running other multiple businesses and still managing a family at the same time. This is the meetup to watch, and this is the one to attend. So right now I want everybody to put your hands together for our guest tonight, Elvis Joseph. Welcome back, Elvis. So the question we start off with everybody, how did you even get started in real estate investing?
Yeah, so getting started, I'm going to probably say I was a good professional procrastinator, right? So, man, I thought about real estate probably back in 2012, 2013 originally. Didn't make a move. Took me a few years. Created an LLC in 2017. And then I finally made my first move around 2018 going into 2019. So it took me about 6 years to actually pull the trigger and get things going. What sparked me was, there's 4 books that I read, and I would encourage everyone to read. One of them, the first one is The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. It's about manifestation, law of attraction, speaking it into existence, kind of getting your mindset. The next 2 books are financial books, sort of, depending on your perspective, but you can learn from both. One of them is The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and the other one is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So I learned a lot from those 2. I think I identified a little bit more with Robert Kiyosaki. And the last book, my wife actually gave me the idea. It's called Atomic Habits.
James Clear.
By James Clear. And so those 4 books definitely, well, actually, there's a 5th book. It's my own book. It's called Speaking to Win. So, yeah.
Okay.
Get that one, too. No, those 4 books really kind of established the foundation. And then we started to rock and roll. And the first initial step was I convinced my wife to downsize. So, we had been in our home. It was a new construction home. We'd been in it for a few years. And then we decided to I convinced her to downsize. So we sold that property, downsized into something a little smaller. And that initially kind of spearheaded us with getting some capital for me to start making investments.
Yeah. Jay, turn the phone down for me. Talk about that first deal. That first deal. So after you procrastinated, you started the LLC, started thinking about investing. You pulled the trigger. What did that look like? First deal.
First deal was actually a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath property in Algiers. I still own it to this day. Got a tenant lease in it. Put 20% down, and first deal, didn't even buy it in my LLC. I bought it in my name. So I had an LLC created, and I still didn't know what to do with it. So that was the actual first deal that I pulled the trigger on.
Tell us a little bit about the experience, because your experience with real estate before that was what? Buying your first property, or what was your experience before that?
Besides watching videos and maybe reading books, it was me buying my actual first property. So going through that process of finding the first deal, I learned a lot. Searching the location, I was looking at something that was more turnkey. Mm-hmm. Initially, I wasn't into doing rehabs at first, and so found a property. It was actually an off-market opportunity through a realtor that I know, kind of maybe more like a pocket listing. So I kind of lucked up with that. And the lady, it was a lady who I bought it from. She was moving to Texas, ready to sell a property, and so was able to acquire that property for about $80,000 first property.
And what was the exit on that? So pocket listing, $80,000.
No exit, man. Still kept it. I put about maybe $4,500 into it just to fix it up, and that was over time. That was, that wasn't right away. More for just some real light cosmetic stuff, and I was able to do a burr on that one and cash out and refi. So that same property appraised for, I think, about $135,000.
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to, when I refinanced it, it allowed me to pull out roughly about $25,000 in equity on cash out.
So this was your rookie deal, and you didn't go traditional at all. You said you did a burr on it. Talk to us about that experience with the financing. So first time asking for an appraisal, first time you had to deal with giving up bank statements, things like that. What was that experience like?
Painful.
As the first time?
Painful, man. Painful, man. They want your life story, right? So W-2s, tax returns, check stubs, bank statements. Yeah, it was like, man, this is it got to be a better way. That's what I was hoping for. And but when buying in your name or doing the traditional route, that's kind of the lay of the land. That's just kind of what you deal with. As you get more into, if you get into private money or hard money lenders, buying in an LLC on commercial financing, you still have docs, but it's not as much as not as many docs as required.
Yep, that's our first deal. This is 2017.
This is 2019.
2019. Okay.
2019.
Okay. First deal, pocket listing. Still have that rental property today.
Still got that rental property.
Did the cash out on it. Next deal. What experiences did you take from that first one and apply it to the second one? How did you find it?
So second deal, I actually found it in a neighborhood my mother-in-law lives in Harvey. So I like that little neighborhood where she's at, and so just found this one on the MLS. This was another unique situation with this particular deal because actually, well, I probably told you I mistold you something. So this deal was that was my first deal.
Which one, the Harvey? Or?
The Harvey deal was my first deal. We were under contract for over a year. It took me a year to close it. So I wound up finding the small deal and actually closing on that one first.
Okay.
Yeah. This deal in Harvey, we found the deal, got it under contract, and the seller was doing some renovations. They had termite damage. So for me, I'm like, man, she about to renovate this property. I'm locking her in. And so we kept doing extensions because I'm like, look, I love. She was renovating the whole property. She gutted it, gutted the property, redid everything. So for me, it's like that's a slam dunk. So it took us a year to close that deal because watching her actually made me evaluate contractors because her contractor really, to me, took advantage of it because she shared with me what she was paying that particular contractor, and the amount of time that it took. I actually felt a little I felt sorry for her because I think she got taken advantage of by that particular contractor. So it was shamelessly, it was a win for me because I got a good deal out of it, but I do feel like she got taken advantage of.
Talk to us about underwriting on that first deal. What was your approach? How did you learn about underwriting? And back then, what were the numbers that was a deal for you? Because this is just your first one.
Yeah, my first one.
Right. So what was the deal for you back then? How were you underwriting?
So traditional financing, I've been fortunate. I got decent credit, so that's definitely something I recommend. Good credit goes a long way, so please focus on that for sure. And with this particular deal, traditional financing, 20% down, and that was really that was the gist of it, man. Nothing out the norm than buying a normal house. In particular, had a decent broker that worked with me. Would still recommend this particular broker today, but they don't write commercial, so that's why we had to kind of go separate ways. But for us personal, if you're looking to buy properties in your personal name, I definitely would recommend that particular broker.
Okay.
Her name is Tasha. I can't say. She's with Premier Lending. She's with Premier Lending. I think is Borges. If it's her last name, first name is Tasha, but she's with Premier Lending.
So when I say underwriting, I guess, how did you know that that was a deal to close on as far as it being a rental property? Were you calculating what was your net, taxes, insurance? How were you backing into it to know that this is the one you wanted to put a trigger on?
Yeah, that particular area, I knew that the property values were on the rise. I knew it was a desirable neighborhood, and right out the gate, I was looking at positive cash flow about $600, right? So for me, that was a slam dunk, because what you hear, honestly, 250 to 300, you're not doing bad, because they got some that's not even positive when it comes to cash flow, especially now with insurance. But right out the gate, $600 was my net after principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
Good.
Yeah.
And so that was net on Harvey, or?
That was net on Harvey.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Harvey.
And that was your first deal. So
that was
that's
the first. That technically it was the second, but it was the first one I got under contract. But it was his first deal I got under contract, but it's the second property I purchased because it took so long to close.
And the one in Algiers, the 2-bedroom, which ended up closing first.
Yeah.
What were the numbers on those, if you remember?
So purchase price was about $80,000. I want to say I want to say my monthly payment, principal, interest, taxes, was about $600. And initially, when I first leased it out, I leased it out for about $1,050.
Okay.
So roughly $450.
So you still above that $250 for sure.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah, I was feeling good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling good.
So this is 2019.
Yeah.
One more question before we move on. What got you to actually pull the trigger, right? Because you read the books, you still working, you're doing okay with your job. This is a risk for a lot of people. So what was it that just made you sign the contract, accept the deal, and just keep pushing forward? What was that why?
Yeah, so that why for me is, I would say in life, things are gonna go wrong regardless. So I made the decision I'd rather deal with the consequences versus dealing with the regrets. So I'd rather handle those consequences of taking that risk versus sitting back regretting not knowing what could have happened. So that was kind of the why it kind of clicked and was like, man, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was 2 in 1 year, or how many did you end up getting out the gate the first year?
So yeah, man, out the gate, no, that was 2. So I did 4 my first year.
All right.
Yeah.
And how many of those you had to actually do full construction on? Because one, the owner did it, $4,500 on the other one.
Yeah. So honestly, no, none of those required me to do full construction. It was minor investments.
That was strategic?
It just kind of happened that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it just kind of happened that way. The first two were. The third one, just saw a property that we were interested in. Another somewhat of a pocket listing. The realtor I was using knew the seller, and so she presented it to me, and I said, yeah, let's make it happen. And with that particular property, didn't have to do much renovations, maybe about 5,000 to 7,000 cosmetic. Put up a backsplash, did some paint. That was replace some doors. That was about it.
And financing is staying the same, so because you're moving fast.
Fast and doing the traditional route, right?
So 20%,
20%. Yeah. So that runs up. You get stopped quick, right? Yeah, you get stopped quick because you only have so much capital, right? And I think that's what most investors run into is they run out of capital. So yeah, after that, I quickly had to learn how to pivot, and that's when I started doing the refi. So that's what gave me the cash injection to continue to scale. That's when I started refinancing some of the properties that I had acquired. And luckily for me, the appreciation had went up in a short period of time to where it was beneficial for me to do the refis.
So we are not COVID yet. We 2019.
2019, and then going in when I started refinancing was COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your COVID approach is high equity, low interest rate right now.
Correct.
At that time.
At that time.
So talk to us about that pivot. So you went through 20% back to back, and now you need capital.
Ran out of money.
What was the approach with the refi?
Yeah, the refi.
Yeah.
So doing the refi was to recover some of the 20% that I didn't put down, and then to continue to invest.
Okay.
And that's when I started pivoting into getting into flips, because I needed to, buy and hold is great, and I think both strategies are wonderful. So that's why I like doing both. But that's when I needed to balance to get more capital coming in, and that's what pivoted me to doing flips.
What was the seasoning period back then? So how long did you have to hold the properties before you could cash out? Because we kind of saw a wave. Some finance companies were 90 days, 6 months. Then we saw a jump to. It was different. So what was yours back then, and did you have to negotiate some of those seasoning periods?
Luckily, I did not, but it was 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 6 months back then.
So you were holding your breath after the 20%.
Yeah.
And 6 months you were able to get that capital out.
Correct.
All right. And what loan to value strategically were you pulling it out? I know some people go way below. They just want some of the capital back, a lot of cash flow. Others want the whole 75% or 80% and try to make a profit and have a lower cash flow. What's your approach on loan to value?
I mean, back then I was taking everything. Give me that 80. Yeah, so I took out the full 80%.
Okay.
Now it just depends on the deal and what opportunities are in front. So
Okay.
Not as pressed to take out as much equity, but it really just depends on the terms and the deal and
And what's the pros and the cons? So for the person that's in your shoes, same thing, excellent credit, W-2, they found a sweet deal, opportunity to cash out. The originator say, hey, with your credit, we can go up to 80%. What's the pros and cons of taking less or maxing out on that loan to value from your experience?
So, when you do the buy and hold method, a lot of times we focus on cash flow, and we don't really focus on the debt pay down, on the benefit of that. So I think as you get more into it, you start weighing the pros and cons of, do you look at the tax benefit? Do you look at the debt pay down? Are you focusing on cash flow? Are you focusing on the appreciation? So I think it really depends on that investor strategy, or really kind of decipher which route to go in regards to that.
Gotcha. So the answer is it depends.
Yeah, it really depends on that particular project and that investor strategy.
Mm-hmm. What's some of the tax benefits you came across since 2019 that you kind of learned that raised your eyebrows that you didn't even know you could do that?
Yeah, I mean, just you could pretty much write almost everything off with the property besides your interest, all your expenses. So it's something that you can really offset your income for as being a W-2 employee, or if you have a business or whatnot, you can really offset a lot of expenses that way. You can use your real estate to offset those expenses, so that way you limit your tax risk or how much you pay.
So, and when you say offset, meaning on my W-2, especially if it's high income,
right,
I could reduce the tax bill using the real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
So when was it you began to put them in the LLC? So I know you had to run with them in your personal name. What caused the transition to start putting these properties in LLCs?
So I found out that I think, and I don't know if it's changed, but you can only hold about 10 mortgages in your personal name. I think you can only have about 10 mortgages legally. I think that's the cap. And so when I found that out, that's what made me pivot into doing the commercial and start doing more deals and learning more about the commercial lending. And then when I found out I didn't have to give them my life story, that made it a little bit easier or attractive to start buying in an LLC.
And what was that first deal in the LLC? Because all the rentals were personal. So what was the first deal in the LLC?
First deal in the LLC was actually a flip.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually a flip. Learned a good bit about that one. My challenge with the flip was trying to figure out that balance on when to. I guess I should say I have a tendency, you know, I like perfection, right? I like a high standard. So knowing that balance of when not to over renovate. That I think that's what I learned on the first one, trying to figure that out.
Tell us about it. So how did you find it, and what was that construction experience? Because the seller's experience with her contractor made you raise your eyebrows. This was your first time in the trenches with your own project.
Yeah.
How did you find the deal, and what did you learn from that construction experience?
So that one, what I learned was that having a good contractor matters. That particular deal, off-market deal. So first time working with a wholesaler, which was a positive experience overall. But so I found the off-market deal. It was in Marrero. It was a 3-bed, 2-bath, or like 3-bed, 1.5, and we converted it into a 4-bed, 2-bath. So first,
moving stuff around on your first project. Okay.
Moving stuff around. Slab property, got to drill into the slab, rerun some plumbing lines. So you came out beautiful, right? Beautiful property, solar property, did well, but it was definitely a learning experience. Taking on a heavier renovation on the first round. Yeah.
So you still working on this first project?
Yes.
You still working. So how did you manage that with still giving full attention to work and family? What was your approach on that first one?
So early mornings, late nights. So I'm there. I'm on the site every day. I'm driving by, even on the weekend. I know the crew not there. I'm telling my wife, hey, I gotta go check on the property. Look, so just walking it, trying to be as close to my contractors as possible. I think that's a benefit, especially first time. And you learn who you're dealing with, right? You learn because, if a contractor guy is upset with me being there, then we got a problem because I'm paying you. You work for me. Right? So I expect my contractors to be welcoming that I'm there and I want to learn and I want to see what they're doing. It's not to necessarily say that I'm checking up on you, but I can be in a better position to understand, when you're talking to me and we talking through some of the challenges that we have or going through the scopes, it's better for me to understand what's going on.
Yeah. So what did you learn about vetting contractors from that experience? So now at the beginning of the relationship, what's kind of your vetting process now to try to smoke out that this contractor might have a problem if I'm too involved? So how do you go through that process of vetting them?
So really, I mean, honestly, get referrals. Reach out to people who who in the industry. Coming to meetups like this is a great way to meet some people because you got credible resources or people that's doing what you're trying to do or doing. So I would definitely start there with vetting contractors, or at least trying to reach out and get connected with contractors.
And what's that first conversation like? I send you a contractor, 3-bedroom property, you want to convert it to 4 bedrooms. What's the first conversation like with the contractor to see if he even worth the second call?
If we really, the first thing is if you're going to do what you say you're going to do, so like if I contact you, we have a conversation and let's say we go walk a job site and you say, hey, I'm going to get you an estimate by Saturday, right? I don't need to call you on Saturday, right? If you can't make it, you should be reaching out to me. I should have an email, a text message, or something in front of that saying, hey, I can't make it, I need this. I shouldn't have to feel like I'm chasing you. So if I got to do that, normally that's a sign of you're not worth my time.
Yeah, what else? That's good. So finding contractors, and this for the people that are not, full-time able to network, if I'm working a job, come to a meetup like this, ask for referrals.
Yeah.
And first thing is make that appointment with the contractor. Number one, if he's late, that's a challenge. And if the estimate is not on time, what else? How you kind of measure expertise, especially if we framing and cracking slabs? How do you kind of measure if this person knows what he's doing?
I always ask for photos or references, or even ask for a current project that they're working on. Let's see some of their work. You know, it's nothing wrong with them. Hey, if you're proud of the product you produce or the services you offer, then you shouldn't have no problem showcasing it. And let's see how honest they're gonna be. You know, because maybe you got a contractor that's just trying to start out just like you, and that's fine. You could give them that opportunity. You know, it's absolutely fine to give them an opportunity, because it could go well. It could go very well. But, you know, you want someone that's going to be upfront, honest, and you want to be able to hold each other accountable.
And what did you learn about the payment process? So that's normally the biggest thing, is trying to measure how much to pay versus how much work is actually executed. So with that first project, what was your approach with paying contractors, and did you have a bad experience with trying to catch up the work with the payments?
Fortunately for me, I haven't had a bad experience with a contractor.
Good.
The contractor that I used on some of my earlier projects was someone I actually knew. So that's what made it a little bit of a safer space.
Good.
With investing and doing business, because I actually had a relationship with the contractor outside of us doing business, which could be tricky too. So don't you know, that could be tricky as well. But for as recommendation, I wouldn't. Some contractors require a deposit. What I would say, don't over leverage with given they want 50% down. You didn't do 50% of the work. Hey, give them maybe 5 to 7%, something that's safe. Just like with gambling, like if you go to casino, just, you know, you go in the casino with the money you're willing to lose, right? Not going in there thinking, oh, I'm gonna come out winning. So that's what I would say when it comes to if you're gonna do payments with contractors, be careful, know your budget, and I wouldn't over leverage based upon the scope or the schedule. And definitely get your construction schedule. Know exactly what items you're gonna target. Ask for an itemized budget. You know, if they don't want to give you an itemized budget, then that could be a concern.
So if I'm working, the contractor is not responsible for everything. If I hired a contractor shouldn't do my scope, shouldn't do the schedule. What you saying is you still should be involved. Maybe that is how some people could get caught up.
Yeah.
You need to be involved in the scope, the schedule.
Well, look, you hired a contractor to put that together, but you need to have your checks and balances and check it and review it. You should review those scopes, the schedules, to make sure. Look, you want to see receipts, right? You know, you want to see receipts. You buy material, let me see. You know, open up yourself a Home Depot or Lowe's Pro account, and you get those points and discounts. You know, have them call you at the pro desk. You know, so you could do things like that. But I definitely recommend that for anyone starting out, be connected with your projects until you build that rapport with your team or your contractors, until that trust is established and you guys feed off each other.
Yep, good. So the experience went well with the contractor because you were involved.
Yeah.
What was the sale like of that flip? Because this is your first flip.
Yeah.
So experience on the back end, what was that like? Punch list, everything was good. We listed on the market. What was the story behind actually getting to the closing table?
So got it listed. Got a lot of activity early on. So that was awesome, right? But the most nerve-wracking part is when you feel like people waste your time. So then we got under contract, and I had a potential buyer that was just stalling. And so I don't like when my property shows pending, and then it comes and it's not pending, because then a lot of people see that like, oh, something wrong with the house.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the house? Why they didn't buy it?
Right.
What happened?
That's
and
true.
so I don't like that stigma. So that's what happened. So this was right around close to the end of the year. So
Okay.
right around holiday time. So things typically are a little bit slower around this time.
And what year are we talking? Are we still 2020-ish, or are we in the deep of COVID?
COVID.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we in 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we went under contract. We went under contract for about 4 weeks, and then the buyer finally opted out because they were just stalling trying to buy time. So then we went back on the market. Surprisingly, maybe about 2 weeks after that, we were back under contract,
good.
and then that deal went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was first deal in LLC. What was the financing on that one? So we know with the rentals it was 20%. Was it the same now that it was a LLC and it was a flip? Was it the same approach? How did you finance the flip?
So this one I went with a local bank. It was 15% of the total loan to cost.
Okay.
So they financed essentially 15% towards the purchase. Just say that 15% I had to come up with 15% towards the purchase, and the bank funded me 100% on the rehab through the draw phase.
Okay.
Where you have to front the rehab budget, and then you get reimbursed through the bank on the back end.
So how did you fall into the private money sector? So you had your experience with things in your personal name, LLC with a small bank. What pushed you to private money, and what was that first transaction like with a private money lender?
Well, when we talk private money, are we talking hard money, or are we talking like a true private money?
What was your first experience with a non-traditional institution? So I don't know if that's under the mattress money. I don't know if that's rich uncle money, but non-traditional experience. What was it, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so that came from just looking online, whether it be social media, whether it be Google, whether it be YouTube, looking for private money or hard money lenders. And it went, I went the hard money route or the non-traditional route. And that's how I do most of my deals now, is through hard money lenders.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you describe, for the people that don't know, the difference between hard money and private money? What's the difference?
So a hard money lender for me would be maybe a non-traditional lending institution, and they have a little bit more favorable terms. Less docs are required, so they normally want to verify credit, and they want to verify maybe a certain amount of liquidity, so that way you can fund, or at least be able to manage the cost through the duration of the project. Normally you got some now that do 100% of financing, purchase, and rehab, but most common you see some that do anywhere from about 10 to 15%. Most commonly I see is probably 10%. So hard money, that's what I would consider hard money. For a private money lender, it would be someone like in this room that just has access to additional capital. Maybe you have an IRA, maybe you have an investment account, maybe you got a HELOC and you want to leverage those funds. So let's say if you borrow from your IRA and the interest rate to pay yourself back on the IRA may be 4 or 5%. Well, you borrow that money from your IRA, you lend it to someone like me, and you charge me maybe 12%.
Right.
And so that way you're making, when you lend to me, I'm covering your payment back to you for your IRA. I'm covering that interest, and you just made that 8% profit off of your money that you lend.
And you have experience with both, so what's kind of the pros and cons of each?
So with hard money, it's less money out of pocket. So normally about 10% towards the purchase. You still have to front the rehab, still have to go through maybe a potential appraisal, or when you want to request a refund on your draws, you have to get your work scopes inspected. So they may send out an inspector, a third-party inspector, to inspect your work before they'll go ahead and refund your funds. Or some of them now actually have an app where you take the pictures, you take a video, and then they'll review all that information. You upload invoices or whatnot, and then you'll get reimbursed. With private money, depends on the private money lender and their level of comfortability. They may actually give you all of the money up front. So I've been actually a deal I have right now under contract, or I'm sorry, a deal I've just purchased 2 weeks ago. I used a private money lender where that lender paid for the purchase up front, and at closing, I got a wire to my bank account for the rehab.
And after that first flip, what was next? Was it another flip or another rental?
Yeah, it was. That's when I started looking at more flips.
Okay.
Yeah. So with more flips, so I think, and I say this like in real estate, I think I think there's fast money, there's medium money, and there's slow money, right? So I think when you think of fast money, I think of when you're a wholesaler, right? Or maybe a real estate agent where you focus just on the transaction because you have limited risk. You just pushing the paperwork for the most part, right? So you can turn and make money rather quickly, probably within 30 days from a roughly real estate agent or a wholesaler. The medium money, I think, will be more of your fix and flip or your potential burrs. You buy a distressed property, you rehab it, you refinance it, you rent it out, or you buy a distressed, you rehab it and sell it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the long term where the slow money comes in is when you go to a buy and hold route and you actually rent or lease your properties.
Yeah. Talk to us about team building. So you still work full time?
Still work full time.
You are on your next flip right now. You went through your first one. Talk to us about the team that you built from that first flip, and with those early mornings and those late nights, how do you kind of stay on top of a project to make sure nothing falls through the cracks?
So like I said, for me it was fortunate because my team that I initially built were people or individuals that I had relationships with. It just so happened that they were in this space, from being a realtor to being contractor and whatnot. So that made it a little bit easier to connect. But I can be your best client, or I could be your most demanding, right? Mm-hmm. So dealing with me, those they got to go through those early mornings and late nights and my phone calls and all my questions. And I'm 24/7 when it comes to having I want access. Like, hey, So for me, it was easier to build a team because it was with people that I knew initially. And so that's where the trust was already established. We had a relationship. We understood what expectations were. And if we had a disagreement, we were able to work and talk through it to get everything resolved.
Okay. And you kind of diversified also outside of your local market. So talk to us about investing outside, and now you have to build a team where you can't be as hands-on with driving around on the weekends, and these are, in most cases, not people you have a relationship with. So where else are you investing, and how did you build that team, or how are you building that team right now?
Yeah, so primarily I invest in Louisiana, so New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, primarily. But I've recently started investing in Alabama, so Birmingham, Alabama, in particular. And what really made me want to diversify was actually Hurricane Ida. So Ida made me want to diversify because when we got impacted by the storm, fortunately, I did receive property damage. Only one of my properties were severely damaged where I had a tree fall on it. But I felt like all my eggs were in one basket, right, between Orleans and Jefferson Parish. So that's initially what gave me the idea to say, hey, I want to start looking outside of the greater New Orleans area. How did I get connected in Birmingham and get the team that I have in Birmingham? Actually, it was through social media. So being in different Facebook groups, reading comments, looking at posts, And I came across a gentleman on a Facebook post. I reached out to him. I just sent him a message, and I said, "Hey man, let's talk." And so he responded. We wound up having a phone conversation, and things went pretty well. He's actually my project manager in Birmingham, and he already had a team established. So what he was doing, and so we had a phone conversation. Things went well. I asked for references, so he sent me a couple people that references or whatnot, and I'm trying to fact check them and see, like, man, is these your friends, or
Right.
like, are these people you really work with or whatnot? And then I actually made a trip to Birmingham. So I wanted to meet his team. I wanted to meet everyone, meet all the players. So took an extended weekend, went to Birmingham, met his team, got a chance to see the contractors that he used, see their work, look at different projects, also canvass the area that I'll be investing in, and that's how it got started. And then probably 2 weeks after that, we was under contract for my first one in Birmingham.
Yeah. What was it about Ida in your experience that just pushed you over the edge that I got to get out of here, or I have to do something different? Was it one particular property or an insurance claim? What was that thorn in your side that pushed you over the edge?
Well, it was the fact that with Ida hit, that with all the potential impact with all the properties, and the fact that when you go through those things and then you got rentals and you got construction projects going on, the insurance doesn't kick in right away. So you still have to have that liquidity to front the cost on getting your properties repaired. So it would be great if, your insurance company issued a check very quickly, but that's not likely. And especially when we had so much damage, there was a lot of insurance companies that went under, right? So that's what really kind of, I guess, put a little fear into me about, man, this major storm, and look, we could experience this every year. And unfortunately, look what's happening in Florida with those folks, unfortunately. But that very well can be us. And so when Ida happened, and like I said, I had overall minor damage on a few properties, but only major damage on one. That made me realize, like, man, I don't know if I'm comfortable having all my eggs in one basket or all my properties in the same vicinity.
Yeah.
So that's what sparked my interest into diversifying and going outside of New Orleans.
And what is that experience been like, not being able to drive by and be hands-on? How do you apply that same pressure when you physically can't be there?
So it's about having the right processes and checks and balances in place. So the contractors, we use an app called Monday, and basically that's where they can send me progress reports, upload photos, add notes, things of that nature, pictures of the permits once the inspectors sign off and pass all our roughing inspections and all that good stuff. So having that access, and then having the project manager to stay on top of them to make sure that's getting done, that's what made it that's what makes it more comfortable.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're in the process of building a machine that can be automated. What's kind of been your go-to now with keeping properties coming into the pipeline for you to underwrite and keep the wheels turning? Because the first couple was a alley-oop from the realtors, but that's not scalable.
Yeah.
So now how do you kind of keep properties coming into the pipeline?
So, like I said, you can still find great deals on the MLS, but get into particular groups. You get partner with wholesalers, get to know those guys. And then, like I said, being in a group or a network, and people know that you buy houses, and especially if you start buying them at a certain volume or frequency, a lot of times deals will just come to you. They'll reach out to you because they know that, okay, hey man, Elvis is gonna buy this house. Oh, I know he's doing deals. So a lot of times deals will come to you as you become, as you make or I guess if you promote yourself or get more awareness that, hey, you're interested in investing.
Yeah. So have you developed a routine yet? So still doing early mornings, still have late nights, still have W-2, but that time is starting to get sucked up because you have more and more properties that you're adding on to the plate. So part of your routine, what else are you doing to continue to keep properties coming in?
So, like you said, I think you trust the people, so you work with wholesalers, you let them find the properties, right? You partner, or you have your realtors, they find property. So, as an investor, you kind of how can I say this? You, for a wholesaler or a realtor, you're one of you should be their best client because it's repeated business, right? It's not first time home buyer looking for their dream home, or I just want this one home, or I want to buy a vacation home. As an investor, you're looking at multiple deals. You're continuously looking to buy. So really, it's about once you have a trusted team or continue to build a network, let the people who specialize in that specialize and let them do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. And as far as, so now your team is in Alabama, you have a project manager, you have acquisitions. Is the same routine in Alabama, or how are you building that same pipeline in Alabama? What's that setup like?
So Alabama is, I'm doing primarily more flips in Alabama.
Okay.
And the reason why is because the acquisition cost is so low. Excuse me. And the acquisition cost in Alabama is so low, and there's a lot of interested investors. So I'm in a group with some investors that are interested in buying in that particular market. And so they rather buy turnkey property. So right now what the strategy is for me is I'm going to buy the property, I'm going to do the legwork to fix them up and get them ready for you, and then I sell it to the investors.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the difference in insurance between Louisiana and Alabama? They taking a hit just as bad, or what's that experience been like?
It's a wonderful experience, man.
In
Insurance, yeah, man. The insurance, I mean, for a property here, I say what $2,500 is good, but really you're looking probably $3,000, $4,000 on insurance. Compared to Alabama, insurance may be anywhere from $700 to $1,100.
And which type of insurance are you talking about? Just your dwelling policy? Just
your dwelling.
Okay.
Just your dwelling. I particularly try to stay away from flood zones, even though Birmingham's a little bit more mountainy. It's got it's a little hilly in that area. But even the flood insurance is relatively low because I'm looking at one property in the flood zone, and I priced the flood, and it was $600. Yeah.
And is it? So I know in some parts of Louisiana it's required, which could be one of the problems that we have with insurance here. Is it, even if it's in a flood zone, is it still required in Alabama?
It's required that's a federal law. If it's in a flood zone and you have a mortgage on it, your mortgage or your lender has to escrow your flood insurance if it's in a flood zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, technically, no, you don't have to put flood on it if you buy it outright.
Yeah, that's good. So in that case, you'll be self-insured if you're buying it outright.
If you're buying it outright, but most people can't do that. So that's why leveraging the private money, hard money, and then I would even say to get strategy I use to get additional capital is business credit as well.
Gotcha. Before we take questions from the audience, right now, fast forward from 2019 to now what is your buy box? What's your criteria? What's your checklist? What does a deal look like right now for Elvis with all the experience that you have now?
So it's still going to be dependent on the particular property, but I like to buy out. I like to stay out of flood zones, just because I don't want the additional expense of being forced to carry flood insurance. So I normally look at X flood zones. I still look on a residential scale. 1 to 4 units is what I look at, and I look for where I can add value to the property most of the time. So my first flip was probably a major rehab, and it's kind of seemed like that's kind of my thing, because most of the flips are projects I do or heavy renovations. So I'm normally stripping the properties down to the studs and bringing them back to life.
And what about exits right now? So you kind of 50-50 on rentals and flips, or you more heavy into one than the other at this point?
I would answer that probably by market. So in the New Orleans market, I am still doing flips. I do have I'm selling one property next week finally, so I'm glad for that. But I do have a property on the MLS for sale, and I'm renovating a property that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna flip as well. So I would say in New Orleans, I'm more focused buy and hold, and depending on the location or the property, I would consider a flip. In the Birmingham market, I think it's a great way to scale a portfolio, because the acquisition is so low, and the rental income is still pretty positive. You can get could be probably before Ida cash flow in Birmingham, so you can cash flow probably anywhere from $300 to $600 on your properties in Birmingham. But Birmingham for me is more of a flip, because I have some investors that are interested in buying turnkey. So for me, I'm just looking to feed them and turn them pretty quick.
Gotcha. And one of our final questions on management. So you still have your W-2, you're running projects in 2 different states, still doing flips, but you're keeping your rentals. So are you self-managing? Are you outsourcing management? What's that experience like? And because you running low on time, like early days, late nights.
Yeah.
So what does property management look like as you build up this portfolio? What's that experience like?
So for out of state, I would definitely hire a property manager. Definitely just makes life a little bit easier for that. But right now, I self-manage. I use a software called TurboTenant. It's pretty affordable, and you can generate lease. You can generate any type of documents per state. I mean, you could use it for the entire North America, but TurboTenant creates a profile. You can generate all your leases or legal docs. Your tenants are able to make payments. They can submit maintenance requests, message you and whatnot, and even it can lease your property as well. So you can use that, take your photos, upload it, and it will put it on basically every property website with the exception of Zillow, but Realtor, Redfin, Apartments.com, and so you can literally list your property. It screens them. Your applicants can do the background checks and so forth. So TurboTenant is a one-stop shop for that. I recently transitioned away from the leasing piece of it just because I didn't have the time to show the property and stuff like that. So I would definitely, right now I'm using a leasing service with listing my new rentals.
Yep, and I think I might know the person that has that leasing service. So if you're short on time and you got a rental property portfolio and you need the properties leased, make sure you call 504-606-1304. We'll take questions from the audience right now. Any questions for Elvis? Yes.
So when you have a lot of false prophets in these groups, I say they run scams and stuff. You gotta vet them. So I would message them privately, it's really trial and error because you could be in a group with a couple good people, but you got a few hundred of people that just won't waste your time. So it's really trial and error with finding. I can't really say what group works best. I just look up real estate groups, private money. I look up business ownerships and stuff like that. And that's probably a good way to find a private money lender is because everybody in a real estate group is probably looking for the same thing. How can I get money? But if you go into some other groups where you have other business owners or entrepreneurs, you got guys that got cash flow that's coming in. That's a great way to probably reach out to get a private money lender.
Good question. Yes.
Hey, how you ended up in Birmingham? That's not like around the corner from New Orleans. You got familiarity there, or does your job take you there? I thought you were gonna say like, somewhere
No,
down the way.
no.
That's a jump.
No, so like I said, Ida made me want to diversify, and so with Birmingham, they're not a, they don't avoid hurricanes, but they're less impacted. So I wanted to stay off the coast, basically, yeah, I wanted to stay off the coast.
And you just randomly picked Birmingham, or just?
Well, no, so initially I was looking, like I said, still in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, initially, and I came across my project manager, who's now my project manager, and me and him started talking, and based off our conversation, me doing my own research, and then making a visit, meeting his team, that's what made me more confident in investing in Birmingham.
No, good question. Next question.
Yeah, it's so same thing. The getting connected with wholesalers or realtors, and like I said, really leveraging my relationships with the team I've built, the project manager, the title company, insurance agents. So, hey, I'm scratching your back by giving you this business. You scratch mine by sending me deals, right? And so they like that because, hey, I'm doing more volume. They get more money. Everybody wins.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think you should budget, but so that you should budget, but that's why I say a lot of the properties I do, I take from, I strip it down and I bring everything back new. So what that does for me is I don't have a lot of capital expenditures, after because everything's new in the property. I'm also able to get the higher rent. And like I said, I'm very particular about the tenants or people I lease to.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So I've heard that for me, I don't buy a property and do that's a lot of paperwork, a lot of tax stuff. I don't want to deal with that. So what I would do is I have two LLCs, one that I hold my properties in. So if I'm gonna keep it, if it's a rental, and then I have an LLC where I do my fix and flips. Now you can still do both under one. So you don't need that, and you could do the strategy you mentioned about create an LLC for this one, create an LLC for that one, but I didn't feel like doing the paperwork and separate too many bank accounts and all that kind of stuff to manage that. So for me, I have two, one for buy and hold, one for fix and flip.
You said you had a double question. That was the other question?
So I have maybe 2 properties still left in my personal name, and I just moved it when I did the refi into. I refinanced it into the LLC. Um, Normally with the LLC, you might pay a little bit more on the refi, but it's nothing tremendous.
Yep. Yes.
So I would say you just do it. I mean, you just got to go through the experience. It's not going to be perfect, right? And so that's why I made the comment about deal with the consequences versus the regrets. I choose consequences and learning from those consequences to improve. So, but you can talk with someone, talk with your realtor, uh, if you have a contractor, also different brokers, like so your lenders. Just because you call one bank doesn't mean you have to go with that particular bank or lender. Like shop your business, right? So see who's gonna work the hardest for you and give you the best option or opportunity.
Back.
My vision's like narrow, it's like one property. And like people like you and Steve, Courtney, y'all have several, right? And, well, you bring up Alabama. What is your reasoning, or what, how have they explained to you that Louisiana is 3 times higher when they're also vulnerable to hurricanes? And they get more tornadoes than we do. Tornadoes hit year round, not August and September. So what's that explanation why our homeowners is 3 times higher when we're next door? And also, second question, because of how these people operate, or how do you vet insurance companies to see if you actually have something legit? Because you don't know if you have insurance until it's too late. Or even worse, you don't know that you don't have insurance until it's too late. You have multiple types of properties. How do you vet that? Because emergency fund, my entire property's been renovated. If I have older AC units, I got money put up in case they need to be changed out. But how do you come up with a $50,000 emergency fund? As well as you're doing, that would be a stretch for you. You know, oh, insurance got me, so now I gotta renew everything. How do you vet these insurance companies? And then what you found out, why the insurance here is 3 times higher than our neighbor.
All right, I'm gonna try to dissect that and answer all 5 of your questions. So when it so when it comes to vetting the insurance companies, I think that you look at a similar policy that you have if you're going to buy out state and going with a new agent, or see if if you got an insurance agent that you're okay with. See if they're licensed the right policies in other states. A lot of times, a lot of insurance agents are able to write in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So you may be able to stick with your same agent. If not, it's just like shopping for car insurance. You call Geico, you call Allstate, you call State Farm, you get different prices. And so you ask them to send you a proposal, and you got to know, well, I would say, know what you what you want. Some things that can help lower your insurance is by doing the updates to the properties and stuff like that. In regards to building a, yeah. Yeah, I can't really say, yeah, man. I don't have a magic wand to say, we that's the risk, man. Yeah, it's an investment, or a risk. You can also look at maybe doing a commercial policy to combine and get one policy and add your properties to it. That can be something as well that may limit cost or something as well. And when it comes to having a $50,000 reserve fund, I mean, it's really that's it. You can save that up. You can pull it from retirement, or you can do something like credit cards, business credit, things of that, personal credit cards, things of that nature. But you gotta be responsible with those. But that's a great way to tap into capital with with no money down, like really using business credit. That's been one of the things that's helped me scale quickly by tapping into business credit, getting those cards, 0% interest, and then leveraging those to acquire more real estate.
We have two more with the glasses. Checker dress. Yep. Good question.
Everything's negotiable, right? So you have to still do your own due diligence. I would recommend believe it's called Deal Check. It's a third party site. You can pay like a yearly subscription for. You could put property addresses in that, and you can set it up if it's a buy and hold, if it's a BRRRR, if it's a fix and flip. You can plug in your interest rate, your rehab, and they'll pull like if realtors use the MLS to pull a CMA. That Deal Check will do that for you as well. So you can also fact check your wholesaler. You can reach out to a realtor for assistance if you know one. But I would say Deal Check would be a good source. I use that independently as well. Well, no. Well, yeah, I'm not a wholesaler, so I would definitely say talk to the wholesalers in the room when the time comes to get information from them. But if you're asking me if I think how I vet someone if they're credible is just like I said, deliver on what you say. If you're gonna send me something, send it to me. You're gonna follow up. You're gonna reach out. Their number's gonna be their number, right? They want to make money, but obviously, I think a strategic or a smart wholesaler is going to try to take care of the investor because you want them to come back and give you reoccurring business.
Yeah, and we have wholesalers in the room too. We'll make sure we connect you with some. Yeah, the back. Good question.
I can't say there's a regret, but there's definitely, my regret was probably not starting sooner. So procrastinating for 6 years. I think that's probably my biggest regret, but consequences, absolutely. I renovated a property. I took a property, it was a 2-bed, 1-bath. I made it into a 3-bed, 2-bath, and it's small, man. Like it's small. And this is the property I'm actually closing on next week, man. It took me a year to get off of it. So you learn that just because you're adding bedrooms doesn't mean you're necessarily adding the value. So just understand. If I could go back, I probably would have still made it a 3-2, but I would have extended the property a little bit to make the primary a little larger. Because right now, the person buying it, and hopefully, I don't think they're in the room, hopefully, but the person buying it, yeah, man, they if they get a queen bed in there, they doing good. They probably more like a full.
Yeah. Jay had his hand up first, and then we'll get you in the back.
So acquisition cost, man, is a beautiful thing. The ARV is the problem, I feel like, in Shreveport. So we know, you got 50 Cent looking to invest in that market, and I think that that might attract or bring up a little bit of appreciation. But really, if you go in Shreveport, buy in Bossier. Bossier is the area to buy in. There's only a select few zip codes in Shreveport, but it's a tough market. I definitely think you got to really vet your team before you invest in Shreveport because, man, I looked at a lot of properties and pictures look wonderful, right? And then when you go see them in person, it's like, man, they try to pull a okey doke on me. So Yeah, so Shreveport is a unique market for sure. I wouldn't recommend starting in Shreveport for any new beginners. Don't start in Shreveport.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yes, to all the above. So I've been where I went to the store and made the purchase. Now, mostly, no, my contractors will go on my behalf. And certain contractors will call me, I'll pay, they send me the receipt, I know what they're doing, we know what we're doing ahead of time. Some contractors, I trust them to get the material, then they show me the receipts on the back end and we take care of it that way. So initially starting out, I think you want to know what you're getting. I'm not saying you have to go to the store to get that, but you definitely want to know what you're paying for and make sure you're aware of what's happening. Where I'm at now, it's easier for me to let my contractors handle that for me, and we take care of it on the back end. Or they call me, we make the payment, and then go from there.
And would that be a part of the scope too? Can you kind of mitigate risk with your scope? So if your scope says 5 sheets of drywall is your scope, that detailed with the materials, and then you could just match it with your pro desk receipts?
Yeah, you absolutely can do that. You're always going to spend a little bit more no matter what, so your budget's never going to be the same. Just keep that in mind. You're always going, the budget is always going to go over on something. How dramatically over it is, that depends, but there's always going to be, especially with rehabs, it's always going to, it's going to be slightly different because there's a lot of unknowns.
Good question. That's it. Well, Elvis, man, how can everybody get in touch with you, especially the wholesalers and especially the realtors with pocket listings and the Birmingham contractors?
So, man, you guys, if you're in the Facebook group, just send me a message in the Facebook group. That's probably the best way, and that way we could get connected. Other than that, I do have a professional cleaning business, so you guys can also, I put some cards on the back table. You guys can actually take a card and you can get in touch with us for that as well.
Yep, awesome. Well, Elvis, stick around. Everybody give him a clap. Thank you for your time, Elvis.
Thank y'all.
That was good.
Thank you.
I learned a lot of information. I love this event, and I think more people should come to these events. I come every month. Elvis specifically, the speaker, I talk to him every month, and I get information from him every month. So I'm like excited that everybody else is able to get more information from him. But yeah, overall, it was great, just like every other meeting, and I think more people should come.
Major shout out to Lisco and Emile and the team. Great experience. Had a property. We came in, took the pictures. We got it leased rather quickly. A lot of activity nonstop. Made life a lot easier for myself as an investor and a property manager. I don't always have time to do leasing. So having Emile and his team come in, help me source tenants, lease my property, and get the right person in was an amazing experience, hands down. Definitely would recommend them, 10 out of 10. And can't wait to do another one because we got more coming.